Hey guys, I'm here talking to Kim Jones and Gilly Segal for the Gaithersburg Book Festival, and I'm talking about their book, I'm Not Dying With You Tonight, which I love, and I'm just really excited because I've known Kim and Gilly for a long time because we're all part of this Atlanta writer crew, so getting to talk to them about their book is really special.
Thanks, Rach.
Thank you for hosting us.
Yeah.
Okay, so first I wanted to ask, which I already know this, but other people will need to know this too. Where did you guys come up with the idea for this book, and how did you end up working on it together?
Gilly did it.
I did it. So I'm Not Dying With You Tonight is inspired by a real event that took place in Baltimore, actually. So this festival is kind of near and dear to our hearts. There, in the wake of the murder of Freddie Gray by the police, there were protests that started up in and around the city of Baltimore. And one particular event took place around a high school. And when the authorities got wind that there was going to be a protest around the high school, the first thing they did was close schools down early and tell the students to go home. And the second thing that they did was close down public transportation in the area. So now you have a mass of students who have been told to go home and have no way to get there. And a school bus became trapped behind a police barricade in the city. And then the news moved there. So there's like a brief news clip about this school bus. And then the news moved on because it wanted to focus on other things. But Kim and I are both moms of kids not too much younger than those kids were. And we got really stuck on the school bus and went, what happened to those kids? And how did they get home? And are they safe? And even if they did get home safely, it still has to have been a really transformative moment for them. So that's the story behind the story.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you chose to focus in on that moment. And I feel the same way. Like, I wish that we could know what happened to those kids even now. And it's a strange thing that we can't. And I love that you chose to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had the opportunity to visit a bunch of schools in the fall when the book first came out. And we've gotten asked a lot of questions over the course of doing this. And the one question that caught us most off guard was a student who actually said, well, whatever did happen to the school bus? And the unfortunate answer is we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, that's hard. So I also wanted to ask, how did you guys end up working together?
We had known each other from like book club, and we had gone on like a couple like writing retreats, and we were friendly and stuff. But it was not like we had each other's phone numbers kind of thing. But so Gilly came to the store. At the time, I was the store manager at the Little Shop of Stories. Hi, Little Shop. And she came into the store while I was working one day and kind of like lurked around. And she came up to me when I got a break, and she had like, she's a lawyer. So she had like her bulleted list and her arguments all set on like how she was going to convince me to write this book with her. And she got very quickly into her presentation. I stopped her and said, you had me at Let's Write Together. And we have been stuck together ever since.
True. It was our very own Jerry Maguire moment.
Mm-hmm.
I love you guys.
And that's for the 25 and up crowd, because anyone younger than that, maybe even 30 and up, has no idea what we're talking about.
But they should, and now they can all go look it up, and that'll help.
Watch Jerry Maguire.
If you have a kid, go watch it. Unless you are a child, in which case get your parents' permission, because maybe not.
Yes, important to note. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is the two characters in this book, Lena and Campbell, who are both amazing, and the way that they interact together is amazing. So first, Kim, I wanted to talk to you about Lena. I loved Lena from the beginning. Like, she reminds me of the girls that I went to school with, and Lena is different from a lot of the Black characters that you see in media. Lena's from the hood, and she's not, but you didn't make her like a sidekick or like a joke or like some person that a nice white lady helps. You made her, well, you tell us about why it was important.
Well, you were definitely on track there. our mission for her was to make her the hero of her own story. That she was going to prove that hood girls could be heroes too. And one of the issues that I've always had in this new age of own voices book, part of what has happened in the intent of expanding the canon is that the world has said, but this type of girl we don't want in the canon. We don't want to add any additional stories for this type of girl. We have, our idea of like positive perspectives is everything but this girl. And I'm like, but this girl still exists in the world. And these girls grow up to be girls like Serena Williams, who grew, who was from Compton, California, and girls like Kimberly Jones, who write books from the South Side of Chicago. And so we wanted girls who are growing up and seeing themselves reflected in the book. It's funny, I was watching an interview the other day, as well as I know her name. Her name is like just escaped my brain. But there is an African-American filmmaker who has a new series that's coming on Stars in the summer, and it is called P-Valley, and it is about sex workers. And one of the things that she said, she's kind of made it almost like her mission and her ministry is to talk about marginalized people within marginalized communities, and what their story is and giving voice to them. And so that was kind of always the mission of Lena, is to say the conversation shouldn't be that we don't have stories about hood girls, but that we have more nuanced stories about hood girls, and that we continue to have their story as well as all the other new stories that we're adding to the canon. Because as our friend Brianna McDaniel says, the library is infinite. We don't have to delete one story to create another.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yep,
I do. And I'm really glad that you wrote Lena.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
So next I want to talk about Campbell.
Yeah.
And Campbell has one of the best written, most satisfying character arcs that I've read in a very long time.
Thank you.
But to do that, to like have that kind of a satisfying arc, you had to start Campbell where you started her.
Yeah.
So tell us more about Campbell and why you wrote Campbell the way that you did.
Yeah, so Campbell is not from the neighborhood in which the book is set. Campbell's a transplant. She's moved there from Haverford, Pennsylvania, which is a predominantly a white area. And Campbell grew up, Campbell's not me, but she's absolutely reflective of people that I knew and attitudes that I saw growing up. And she's got a very stereotypical perspective on the neighborhood that she has moved to, and she doesn't bother to get to know it when she first moves there. She is holding herself at arm's length, and she lets this perspective that she walks into the story with kind of dominate the way that she thinks about the community that she has joined. And I challenge readers of the book to ask themselves whether Campbell is racist, or at a minimum has implicit bias that is dominating the way that she views the people around her, and whether or not she changes over the course of the book. The book takes place all during the course of one evening. It's only about 4 hours in time that transpire from the very first event until the very last page of the story. And so, Campbell starts a journey on this night. I don't think she finishes it. I hope that readers will see the direction that she's going to try to go. But I think it would have been inauthentic to have her do a 180 and end the story somebody that she's not. So I think Campbell's still got a ways to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's helpful too, because I think that kids reading it will be like, oh yeah, like it doesn't just happen like with a snap of my fingers. Like I have to work to be better. So yeah.
Yeah. I think our dearest hope for the book is that it provides a place to start a conversation, right? So these are difficult things to talk about. And, I hope that particularly white people will read Campbell and go, do I say and think those things that she's saying and thinking at the beginning of the book? Or maybe it's easier for them to talk about what Campbell says and does and kind of back into sort of a reverse funnel of the conversation and grapple with these issues. Growth comes from discomfort. And so I hope that people who see themselves in Campbell are really uncomfortable and challenge themselves over that.
Yeah. The other thing is we definitely want people to be open to allowing people to grow. I think now, you know, in this cancel culture that we live in, if people make a mistake, and I'm not talking about people doing horrific things, obviously, but in general, like we are all still like learning and growing, and we are getting better about the language that we use towards each other, and we are getting better about the way in which we listen to each other and things like that. And so I hope that also like Lena and Campbell are an example of what happens if you are put in a space where a person is allowed to grow in their discomfort, and that they have a friend who's there, literally in this book, taking the journey with them, as they grow and learn, and that there's space for people to do that. And we're hoping that, like Gilly said, that this is a tool for people to do that.
Yeah, and so that conveniently brings me to my next question, which is that this is the kind of book that people have like those hard, necessary conversations about, and makes you want to have those types of conversations. And I know you guys have done a lot of panels and a lot of school visits, and so I just wanted you to tell me about the kind of conversations that have happened at these visits, and has anything happened that surprised you?
I feel like the most interesting conversations, and no shade to our adult readers because we love you all, but I feel like the most the most personal growth that I've received, and I think Gilly feels the same way, has come from the conversations with the kids.
Yeah.
When we're in high schools, because they're so honest and they're so open. They're so open to the change in the conversation and seeing a new perspective and having their minds, having their minds changed. And it's funny, one of the things that we deal with, because there's a lot of layers to this book. And one of the things that we deal with is very strong girls making very poor romantic choices, with Lena and her relationship with Black. And we were at a college, and we like low key up until that point were kind of like defending Black's arc, and where he lands. And it took these like young, smart girls at the college to say, no, we're not forgiving him, and this is why. And it was like a revelation for us to be like, oh my God, we've been in defense of this very like toxic, poor behavior that he's been exercising just because he had a moment of clarity. And there was these like really brilliant young women who were like,
no,
all is not forgiven. No,
you cannot. Don't let him off the hook.
Yeah, you cannot let someone with bad behavior off the hook so easily.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I think for me, the most profound moment has been, and this is sadly happened at a number of different schools, I've been profoundly impacted by the number of kids who have come up to us and said, the events that we describe in the book, in particular the school shooting, has happened at their school. There were a number of them that asked us, did you base this off this particular event that happened to us? And so that has just been profoundly impactful to think about how widespread these experiences are for kids.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think I thought about school shootings when I was in school.
No, it's different.
It was not just embedded in the culture of, and there were schools, particularly because of where I grew up, there were schools that were having a certain level of like personal gun violence, like, to be honest, like, gang violence that happened maybe exterior to the school, but this notion of like someone coming in with an assault rifle and just someone having a gun in school was not a concern. They live in a very different world now, and I'm glad that even in that regard, our book is giving them a space for conversation.
Yeah, something scary like that happened at my school, but you're right, Kim. It wasn't the same kind of situation where it was like someone looking to shoot up the school. It was like a drug dealer's girlfriend happened to go to my school, and he thought that maybe she might be running around on him. So he like showed up at track practice and was being kind of scary. And then I like was the one person who like ran and called 911. So then I was like the nerdy girl that called 911 for quite a while after that.
Good thing you called 911.
Yeah.
But yeah, but not what, there weren't like shooter drills and things like that.
Yeah, that's true. And that has been a strange thing about the pandemic, is like not having to hear about things like that.
Yeah.
because schools aren't open right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sad.
So I guess on the subject of like how we're getting through the pandemic, how is writing going for you guys right now during this time? Do you have any tips for creative people during this time? That's a hard question, sorry.
I don't know. No, actually my tip for creative people is if you can't create right now, it's okay. You know, I think there is a lot of upsetting messaging out there about this being a pause and a break and, you know, productivity. And I'm like, you know, it's enough to survive this, right? This is hard. It's difficult. Many of us, especially people in the creative space, income is not necessarily a stable thing for us. So if you have the pressure of being out of work and struggling with that and uncertainty and instability, like my tip is if you can't write right now, don't. It's okay. You know, we will get through this and we will come out on the other side and your creativity will come. It's a well that fortunately we can fill back up. And if you're struggling to fill the well at this moment in time, that's okay. It won't go away forever.
Also, I have instantly become a school teacher now, right? Yeah. And so the responsibility of that is overwhelming. And honestly, with my son, who is 14, the amount of work and projects that are on him right now, it takes the day. Yeah. For us just to get through school. And so, yeah, in the beginning, I was like feeling bad that I wasn't as productive as I thought I could be, but I like definitely, you know, agree with Gilly is that eventually I just started forgiving myself and saying like, you have now become an unlicensed teacher and you are doing that during the day and you are not qualified to do that. So you are struggling and fumbling through with that and like trying to figure out all the different websites in which he has to turn things in and trying to, you know, get projects. And also I have become, and all of us, this is not just me, like I am a full-time teacher now. I am also a sous chef. And you know, lots of other additional responsibilities that we are not accounting for when we're saying you're at home and your time is free. And it's like, is it really as free as you think it is?
It is not.
I'm having to cook 3 meals a day, which I wasn't doing before. I'm having to work with a student of in my case, a very smart alecky student who thinks knows more than me, you know, for quite a chunk of the day. I mean, the load that they have for teenagers right now, the load that my child has, he starts school at 8:00 and he's not done until 3.
Wow. Yeah, it's a lot.
With all of the work that he has. And then I have to get dinner on. And so it's like, you know, definitely being more forgiving. Now, Gilly and I were productive at the onset and we did get our second book. We did get edits on our second book turned in. So yay to that. So I just like ride on that victory. I'm like, Gilly and I, we did a thing. And so I'm going to hold on to that.
So that works out perfectly because my next question was going to be, what's next for you? Although I do want to say that first that I really love what you both are saying about how like it's okay for it to be a break, or not a break, like it's okay to take a pause from your creativity to just survive. I think that's an important message for people to hear.
Yeah, like creativity is not a factory with a conveyor belt, right? It's not like you put the widgets in and the widgets come out the other side of the conveyor belt. That's not how any of this works, and that's okay.
I wish I was mature enough that when you said you put the widgets in and the widgets come out, that in my mind, I didn't imagine Lucy and Ethel at the chocolate factory.
That though is how I feel a lot of days. Like, where are the chocolates?
Where is the chocolate?
Down the bra. That's how I feel.
Y'all, I like at the start of this, I knew it was gonna get like that, and so I got a really big bar of hazelnut chocolate that I like, and I hid it in my house, and I was like, this is gonna be my emergency chocolate. I'm not gonna tell anyone where it is, and it's gonna be for when I need it. And I'm really spacey, so I can't find it.
So what you're saying is there's chocolate in your house for a lot. I'm telling your children.
Ooh, this is great fodder for a scavenger hunt.
Oh, you should tell your kids. Whoever finds it first gets to share the chocolate with you.
Yeah. I should do that. They'd probably find
it by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay,
you have that chocolate within the hour.
You also might have everything that was in the drawers of your house out of the drawers of your house, but the important part is to have the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, what are you guys working on next, if you're allowed to talk about it right now?
We can talk about parts of it.
Okay.
A little bit of it.
So we are co-authoring another book. It's on brand, a sort of ripped from the headline story about two girls, one black and one white. They're on a cheerleading squad that decides to take a knee during a football game and the fallout associated with that.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. But we can't talk about title or anything like that yet. So
that's okay. But I really love cheerleading books. So
it's funny because
other people.
I absolutely gained an enormous amount of respect for them. They're serious athletes. And also it was research to watch the show Cheer on Netflix. And anything that enables you to watch Cheer as research is an excellent project.
It's a great thing.
Totally great.
Yes.
If you haven't watched that on Netflix, anybody,
you should watch it. Yeah.
Don't skip a beat. It is
fascinating.
Absolutely. Yeah. That will definitely help you during the pandemic.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I have some last lightning round questions, unless there's anything else you guys want to tell us about I'm Not Dying With You Tonight or your next book, either one. No, you ready for the lightning round?
We're ready for the lightning round.
Okay. What is your go-to quarantine snack?
Lemon bars.
Oh, I want lemon bars. Also, it makes me think of Dumbledore.
Kim, what was yours? I missed yours.
Popcorn.
Oh, yeah.
That would be very good too. Okay, how many cups of coffee are you drinking a day right now? Just one.
Okay, but so this is supposed to be the lightning round, but whatever. I'm incapable of following the rules. Oh, 4. Kim and I have a habit of drinking, we call it dessert coffee because it has so much milk and sugar that it's basically dessert. Yeah. And because of that, I have become really good at limiting myself to just one a day because it's basically dessert.
That is really the only way to do coffee, so that's allowed.
It becomes not coffee, but a coffee drink.
Yeah, it's a coffee drink. Basically, it's milk with a splash of coffee in it to make it peach.
Exactly.
And Kim has been doing 4, so can you see through time?
I can. I'm currently floating above this seat.
I like it. Okay. Next question is, what is the most embarrassing TV show you've watched during this time?
Charmed. I'm rewatching the original Charmed.
I've never seen that, actually.
It does not hold up, you guys. It's
not
a hold up. It's not.
Oh, the most, oh God, I hate to put the word embarrassing in front of it because I don't want to insult anybody, but the one why am I watching this kind of thing is I've gotten addicted to this Nigerian soap opera that's on Netflix called The Sons of Celiphat.
Is it subtitled or?
It's interesting because in this part of Nigeria, they will speak in their native tongue and then they will also speak in English. So it's predominantly in English, but they do go into their native tongue. And so then those parts are subtitled. But it is this really bad kind of over the top dynasty-esque soap opera that's set in Nigeria, and it's centered around these 3 sons of billionaires, and one is actually heir to the Nigerian throne, he's an actual royal, and then the other 2 are just sons of diamond and oil owners or whatever, and they are 3 of the most it's the Great Gatsby in the sense of they are 3 just awful human beings.
Oh my God, I love it. I love melodrama.
Yeah,
you really sold me on it.
I know. I'm this sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's complete melodrama though, and there's more murders than actually and not in a grotesque way, but the dun 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 and the thing is black kind of no one's doing all of this to maintain being governor, but yeah, it's really crazy, and I love it. It's called if you get bored, it's called The Sons of Celiphat, and it's a Nigerian soap opera, and it is awesome.
Okay, excellent. I'm taking notes. That's what, if you wonder what I'm doing, I'm putting this in the queue.
I'm gonna ask you to share that with me later. Okay. Would you rather read Midnight Sun or Hunger Games 5?
Hunger Games 5.
Gilly looks conflicted.
I know what she's gonna say.
I really, you guys. I think I have the honest answer is Midnight Sun.
I knew it.
I have to defend myself now. It's deeply, deeply problematic, and she is deeply problematic. But Twilight is the thing that brought me back to reading YA as an adult. The result of which is me being here talking with you guys about a book that I co-authored with Kim, and so I feel like it would be disingenuous not to say.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do it as a book club, like with our friends.
I mean,
Just to mock it.
yes.
But no, like, yeah, I am gonna just confess wholeheartedly, I'm a Hunger Games fan. Like, I'm a Hunger Games junkie. I loved the series. I loved the movies. And I got to meet Suzanne Collins years ago when I was a bookseller. I was at an event in New York, and she and I like hung out at like a cocktail party on the roof of the Scholastic building. And I was like, yeah, I'll have to send you guys that photo of me and her like all booed up. But like, I'm in love with her and her book and the movies, and I just own it. Like, I love Hunger Games. So yeah.
I do too. I mean, like, I will probably read them both.
Wait, you haven't read them?
Not
saying she would read both of
the Ballad
new
of Songbirds
movies.
and Snakes and
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, we're cool.
You were like, go read those and then come back and be my friend.
Yeah. Okay. And my last question is, what book recs do you have for people?
I'm going first.
Yeah,
I would like to recommend this book. It's called The Summer of Impossibilities by Rachel Allen.
Very good.
It is a beautiful story of 4 girls who spend the summer at the lake with their mothers, and the moms are kind of a mess and the girls are kind of a mess, but they find friendship and love and themselves, maybe most important of all, and it's amazing. So it comes out this coming week.
Thank you.
Yay! I also would like to recommend it, although I haven't read it, but I am going to steal it from Gilly as soon as we can touch each other. Or no, I'm actually just gonna buy it, so that's fine. I am gonna go with a throwback and recommend. I thought about it because Gilly said that Twilight was the series that brought her into YA, and I'm gonna recommend this series that brought me into YA, which is Dead Beautiful by Yvonne Moon. And I was very excited to see on Twitter the other day that she just got another book deal, and so she's writing something new. But Dead Beautiful is a trilogy that is absolutely amazing. It is a zombie love story, back when creatures were the big thing. It is a zombie love story, but what I love about it and what I think is so absolutely smart about it is that the zombies do not instantly deteriorate. They deteriorate over a period of time, and they actually gain like superpowers during the first phase before their deterioration starts. And I love it that she uses a lot of our actual like burial processes to explain zombieism, like why we bury people 6 feet and things like that, which I found extremely like fascinating and smart. So I would recommend the Dead Beautiful series by Yvonne Moon. And she lives in Atlanta now. She just moved to Atlanta, so now she's over there, Georgia Island.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for talking to me about your wonderful book that I'm going to show everyone again because I can.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Really show Rachel's book again. They should all go out and buy it.
Go out and grab it.
Yeah.
And to the Gaithersburg Book Festival, we're so very sorry that we do not get to be there in person and see you guys on a stage. We hope that we will make it back there for when we can all be in person together again. But meanwhile, support the online book festival, and we're so grateful for y'all's support of us.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.